So you know how we've been digging into all this product development stuff lately? Vision statements and all those, what were they called? Product diseases?
Yeah.
Yeah, those. Plus, this whole radical product thinking framework has really caught my eye.
That's a good one.
Right. So ready to cut through the buzzwords and really change how we think about building products.
Let's do it. You're already on the right track, exploring lean, agile, getting that customer feedback. Those are all key ingredients.
Right. Gotta have those.
But they're only truly effective when they're guided by, a solid vision. It's like having a supercharged engine, but no steering wheel. You've got all this power, but where are you actually going?
Okay, so vision is how we steer that engine. That makes a lot of sense. But I have to admit, these product diseases you mentioned, they're kind of freaking me out. Is this like a real medical diagnosis for my product?
Think of it more like a fun way to spot the symptoms of a vision deficiency in your product.
A vision deficiency, okay.
Yeah, and you're right. They're way more common than you think. Take pivotitis, for example.
Pivotitis sounds serious.
It can be. It's not just about making one pivot, it's the constant chasing after the next big thing without really understanding why. Remember Radhika and her startup?
Oh, yeah. What was it, like 3 months, 3 different product offerings?
Exactly. That kind of instability is a recipe for disaster. Kills team morale and leaves your customers totally confused.
Yeah, no kidding. I wonder if anyone even stayed on that team long enough to see what the product actually became.
It's a valid question.
Yeah.
But speaking of product chaos, there's also strategic swelling. I'm sure you've encountered this one.
Oh, I'm sure I have. What is that one again?
Well, it starts innocently enough.
Yeah.
You want to make your customers happy, right? So you'd say yes to every feature request. But before you know it, your product is this bloated mess of features, each one serving like a tiny niche, and none of them are actually moving the needle.
It's like that saying, too many cooks in the kitchen. Or in this case, too many features in the product.
Exactly. You end up with something that looks impressive on paper, but it just doesn't work as a cohesive whole. Okay, so how about Narcissus Complex? This one's a classic.
Okay, Narcissus Complex. This one sounds like a real confidence booster.
Maybe not so much. It's the mistake of building what we want, not what our customers actually need. We fall in love with our own ideas and forget to, validate them against real-world problems.
Oh, I've been there. It's so easy to get caught up in your own head.
Really?
Do you have any, real-world examples of this Narcissus Complex in action?
It reminds me of that story in the book about the hospital executive who wanted patients to get sicker more often.
Wait, what? Seriously?
Seriously, talk about losing sight of the big picture.
Wow, yeah, that's a bit terrifying. I really hope I never encounter that level of product-market disconnect.
Let's hope not. Okay, last product disease on our list, obsessive sales disorder.
Obsessive sales disorder. I feel like I'm going to need a whole other deep dive just to unpack all of this. But, okay, what is obsessive sales disorder?
It's when the pressure to close that big deal, it can lead us down a dangerous path. Sales needs just this one tiny feature to get the client to sign, and suddenly your entire roadmap is being held hostage by, individual client whims.
Oh no, it's the siren song of sales. Okay, so we've diagnosed our products with a whole bunch of ailments, and it seems like the root cause is often, a lack of clear vision.
You nailed it. And that's where radical product thinking comes in. It's about fundamentally changing how we think about products.
Hey, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this radical product thinking.
It starts by recognizing that a product can be anything that creates change. It could be software, a service, a policy, even a parenting approach.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. But it makes sense. It's not just about the thing itself. It's about the impact it has.
Exactly. It's about understanding a change you want to create in the world before you even start building anything. It's like you wouldn't get in your car and start driving without knowing where you want to go.
Yeah. Okay, that's a terrible analogy for me because I totally do that sometimes. But I get what you're saying. It's about intentionality.
Exactly. And that's where the third pillar of radical product thinking comes in. Systematically engineering change. Your vision needs to translate into a concrete strategy, clear priorities, a well-defined execution plan, even how you measure success.
So it's not just about having a destination in mind. It's about having the right map and a well-tuned car to actually get you there.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a much better analogy. Do you have any real-world examples of this radical product thinking in action, something that we can all relate to?
Absolutely. Think about superhero movies. DC and Marvel, they've taken very different approaches, and the results, well, they speak for themselves.
Okay, I'm listening. I'm a huge superhero fan.
For years, DC seemed to just chase blockbuster hits without a clear vision. They got stuck in a rut, churning out Batman movie after Batman movie. Remember Asterisk, Batman and Robin, Asterisk?
Asterisk, Batman and Robin, asterisk, get.
My point exactly.
Yep.
So how did Marvel manage to avoid this superhero fatigue and create a universe that just seems to keep growing?
Yeah, they're on a whole other level.
Right. A lot of their success comes down to Kevin Feige and his crystal clear vision. He understood that Marvel movies shouldn't just be about explosions and special effects.
Don't get me wrong, I love a good explosion as much as the next person, but there has to be more to it than that.
Exactly. Feige knew that the movies needed to stay true to the heart of the comic books, which often explored, these complex social and human issues.
That's so true. The best superhero stories are always about more than just saving the world. They're about the characters, the relationships, the struggles they face.
Right. And that depth is what makes them resonate with audiences. So Feige's vision wasn't just some lofty idea. It became the driving force behind every decision they made.
Okay, so Marvel had this deeper why behind their superhero stories. It wasn't just about making a quick buck. It was about tapping into something much more meaningful. But how did that translate into their actual strategy and execution?
They used a framework called RDCL, Real Pain Points, Design, Capabilities, and Logistics, to systematically turn their vision into action.
RDCL. Okay, break that down for me.
They started by identifying the real pain points of comic book fans who felt like previous adaptations had missed the mark.
Which, let's be honest, a lot of them had.
Right. So Marvel prioritized interconnected storytelling, weaving together this complex tapestry of characters and storylines. This rewarded longtime fans and drew in newcomers.
The MCU is basically the ultimate example of world building.
It really is. And they were super strategic with their casting choices, opting for actors who were talented but not necessarily huge box office draws at the time.
Yeah, casting Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man was a genius move. He wasn't exactly Iron Man before that movie.
Exactly. He perfectly embodied the character's wit, vulnerability, and complexity.
Yeah.
And they carefully managed the logistics, releasing their movies in phases to build anticipation and create this sense of a larger universe unfolding.
It's like they created this perfectly calibrated machine, every piece working together to create something truly special.
That's a great way to put it. It all goes back to having that clear vision and then using a framework like RDCL to bring it to life.
The RDCL framework is brilliant. It's like a bridge between vision and execution. But let's go back to the casting for a second, because choosing lesser-known actors for such a huge franchise seems like a risky move. Weren't they worried about box office numbers?
It was a calculated risk, for sure. But they understood that casting huge stars could actually backfire. Big names can overshadow the characters and the story.
Yeah, you want the audience to see Iron Man, not Robert Downey Jr. playing dress-up.
Exactly.
Right.
They opted for actors who could really embody the roles authentically and disappear into the world they were creating.
And it worked. It's hard to imagine anyone else playing those roles now. It's amazing how a clear vision can influence even the smallest details, like casting choices. But this whole conversation about vision statements makes me wonder what actually makes a good asterisk vision statement. Because I have to admit, I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions out there.
You're absolutely right. There's this common misconception that vision statements should be these grandiose aspirational declarations, short, catchy, easily digestible. But that approach can actually do more harm than good.
Really? Why is that? I always thought a vision statement was supposed to be inspiring, motivational, like a rallying cry for the company.
It should be inspiring, for sure, but it also needs to be a practical tool for making decisions. Let me give you an example. Contributing to human progress by empowering people to express themselves.
Sounds nice, right? Sure, it sounds nice, but it also sounds like it could apply to, a million different companies.
Exactly. It's so vague that it doesn't tell you anything about what the company actually does or where it's going.
It's like trying to navigate with a compass that's constantly spinning. You'll never get anywhere.
You got it. A good vision statement is more like a filter. It helps you prioritize what's important and weed out all the distractions. Remember that wine startup you mentioned earlier?
Oh, yeah, the one with the ambitious goal of becoming the Netflix of wine.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Their vision was to be the go-to platform for wine education and purchasing. It's a good starting point, but it could be even stronger.
Really? How so? It seems pretty clear to me.
It's on the right track, but it's still a bit focused on the company itself. A truly effective vision statement centers on the problem you're solving, not just your aspirations. It should resonate with both your team asterisk and asterisk your customers. Think of it this way. When your customers hear your vision statement, they should think, yes, that's exactly what I need.
So it's not just an internal document. It's something that should make sense to the people you're trying to serve. It's about creating that shared understanding of the problem and the solution.
Exactly. And finally, a good vision statement helps everyone visualize a concrete end state. It's not just a catchy slogan to slap on a mug. It's about deeply internalizing a shared purpose.
So how can we apply this to that wine startup example? How do we turn that basic vision statement into something more radical?
That's where the radical vision statement comes in. It helps you move beyond those vague aspirations and create a blueprint for real change. It's all based on answering 5 key questions: who, what, why, when, and how.
So it's more like source code than a soundbite. It's the underlying structure that everything else is built on.
Precisely. Let's take your wine startup example. The who might be, let's say, amateur wine drinkers who are intimidated by the whole selection process.
Okay, so they walk into a store, see a wall of wine, and they're just completely overwhelmed. I've been there.
Exactly. The what is their struggle to find wines they'll actually enjoy. They end up wasting money and feeling disappointed.
Because who wants to spend their hard-earned money on a bottle of wine they end up pouring down the drain? Not me.
Right. The why is the frustration and disappointment they experience when they make a bad choice. The when is when finding the perfect bottle of wine is as easy as, I don't know, finding a good movie on Netflix.
I like where you're going with this. It's about taking the guesswork out of the equation, making it easy and enjoyable.
Exactly. And the how is where things get interesting. This could involve a personalized recommendation algorithm, curated selections from expert sommeliers, and a seamless delivery service that brings the world of wine right to their doorstep.
Okay, now asterisk. That asterisk is a vision statement I can get behind. It's not just about building a platform. It's about creating an experience, solving a real problem, and honestly, making people's lives better.
And that's the whole point, right? A well-crafted vision statement should be both inspiring asterisk and asterisk actionable. It should give your team the clarity and direction they need to make decisions, prioritize tasks, and stay laser-focused on that ultimate goal. It's like having a shared map that everyone can reference as they navigate the often complex world of product development.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So this radical vision statement, it sounds like a powerful tool for anyone working on a product. But is this just for CEOs and founders? What about those of us who are, passionate about product development but maybe aren't in a formal leadership role? Can we still have a vision for our work even if we're not the ones calling the shots?
That's a great question, and honestly, it's something we need to talk more about. There's this misconception that only leaders create visions. But the truth is, everyone can and should have a vision for their work, regardless of their title or position. You don't need to be the CEO to make a difference.
I love that. So how do we do that? How do we tap into our inner visionary even if we're not the ones steering the ship?
Think about Margaret Hamilton. She was this brilliant software engineer who played a pivotal role in the Apollo 11 mission.
Wait, the Apollo 11 mission that landed on the moon? She was a part of that? That's incredible.
It is incredible. And she's a perfect example of someone who had a vision for her work, even though she wasn't in a formal leadership position. Margaret had this personal vision for creating ultra-reliable software. This vision guided her decisions, even when it wasn't easy.
So how did her vision play out in the context of the Apollo mission? What did she do differently?
Well, there's this amazing anecdote about how she discovered a potential error in the software that could have caused the lunar module to crash during landing.
Oh my gosh, talk about high stakes.
Right. This wasn't just a minor bug. This was a mission-critical issue. And Margaret, she fought tooth and nail to get that code fixed, even though some people, even some in management at NASA, resisted. They thought it was unnecessary.
Wow, she was literally advocating for the lives of the astronauts. So what happened? Did they listen to her?
She was persistent, and she knew she was right. So yes, they finally listened to her, and thankfully they made the changes to the code. And, well, history tells us the mission was a success.
That's amazing. So her vision, her commitment to quality, it literally changed the course of history.
It really did. Later, when they analyzed the data, they confirmed that she had been right all along. If they hadn't listened to her, the mission could have had a very different and tragic outcome.
That's incredible. What a powerful reminder that we all have the power to make a difference, regardless of our job title. Okay, so what does this mean for our listeners who are working on their own products? How can they channel their inner Margaret Hamilton?
It's about thinking about the end state you want to create, even if it's just for your little corner of the product. You can use this radical product thinking framework to guide your decisions, prioritize tasks, and advocate for solutions that align with your vision, even if you're not the one calling all the shots.
That's incredibly empowering. So even if you're not the CEO, you can still be a visionary and make a real impact. This has been an incredible conversation already, and I'm so glad we had the chance to really dig into this whole vision thing. But you know what? We've got even more great stuff to share.
We do.
In the next part of our deep dive, let's explore some real-world vision statements and see what we can learn from them because, let's be honest, there's nothing more helpful than a good case study.
I completely agree. And these case studies, they offer valuable insights that you can apply to your own product journey.
Okay, I'm ready for those real-world vision statements. It's like those addictive before and after home renovation shows. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, so get ready, because we got 3 awesome examples lined up for you. And each one really highlights a different aspect of what makes a vision statement stand out. So first up, let's talk about Martina Nagley. She's tackling a tough one, workplace tension in childcare.
Workplace tension in childcare, yeah, that's definitely an area where you want to minimize stress and, maximize those good vibes. So what was her initial vision for dealing with this?
Initially, she was focused on helping employees, kind of navigate and resolve conflict, which is super important. But then she had this aha moment. She realized her vision could be even more impactful if she shifted the focus just a bit.
Okay, more impactful how? I'm always up for a good plot twist.
So instead of just zeroing in on employee tension, she zoomed out to consider the ripple effect. So her revised vision emphasizes creating this positive and supportive work environment that ultimately benefits the children in their care.
So it's not just about making the workplace more, pleasant. It's about realizing those happier, less stressed caregivers are going to provide better care for the kids. That's a really insightful shift.
Right. It's about understanding that deeper impact of the work you're doing. Like, what's the ultimate so what?
I like that. Okay, what's our next vision statement? I'm ready.
All right, this one comes from Michelle Grupinski. She's a product manager over at Pendo, and her initial vision was all about empowering product managers to connect with users.
Okay, that sounds pretty good on the surface, right? Connecting with your users is like product management 101. What did you suggest she change?
Well, I kind of pushed her a little bit. That whole so what question.
Mm-hmm.
What are the actual consequences of asterisk, not asterisk, having those connections? Why should anyone care about this problem?
So it's about digging deeper, really getting to the heart of asterisk why asterisk it matters.
You got it. And when she did that, when Michelle really explored the why, her revised vision statement became much stronger. It highlighted the very real stress that product managers feel when users aren't engaging with their product.
Yeah.
They poured their heart and soul into building this thing, and then crickets.
Yeah, I can only imagine. You put all that work in and then nobody uses it.
The worst. It also addresses the wasted resources that go into building features no one actually wants or needs.
Oh, feature creep is a real problem.
Tell me about it.
So it's not just about making PM's lives easier. It's about optimizing resource allocation. It's about making sure those development efforts are aligned with actual user needs. It's about driving product success.
Now you're getting it. Okay, are you ready for our last vision statement makeover?
Hit me.
Okay, this last example comes from Melissa Ryan. She leads a volunteer organization. And her initial vision was all about improving the volunteer experience.
Okay, can't argue with that. Volunteers are the lifeblood of so many organizations.
Totally. But we worked together to broaden her perspective a bit, to really think about asterisks, all asterisk, the stakeholders involved.
Interesting. So who else did she need to consider, besides the volunteers themselves, obviously?
Well, it turned out her organization works really closely with government agencies to support a lot of their volunteer initiatives. So, by incorporating their perspective, Melissa's revised vision statement became way stronger. It highlighted the immense benefits that government agencies get when volunteers are well-supported and highly engaged.
So it's like creating this win-win situation where everyone benefits.
Exactly. And by framing the vision in a way that resonated with all asterisk the stakeholders, she was much more likely to get buy-in and support for her ideas.
Smart move. So what happened? Did her vision evolve even further?
It did. We worked on articulating a really clear end state. Her revised vision actually paints this really vivid picture of a world where government agencies are effectively utilizing volunteer resources to make a real difference in their communities.
It's about thinking bigger. It's not just about, making incremental improvements. It's about envisioning this better future, a world where those problems we talked about, they don't exist.
You've got it. And these examples, they just show the power of a well-crafted vision statement. It's not just another item to check off your to-do list. It's a living, breathing document that can guide your decisions, inspire your team, and ultimately help you create something that makes a real difference.
Wow, those real-world examples were awesome.
Yeah.
It really gets you thinking about how to make a vision statement more than just words on a page.
Totally. It's about creating something that can drive real change.
Yeah.
And speaking of real change, remember Lijat, that Indian organization we talked about earlier?
Yeah, the Papadum Company. They're doing some pretty incredible things.
Right. And their mission to empower women, it's not just like a side hustle for them. It's woven into every single part of their business.
It's like they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk.
Exactly. It influences their strategy, how they operate, even how they define success. They're proof that you can achieve business goals and make a positive impact on the world at the same time.
It really makes you think differently about the role of a product manager. It's like we have this responsibility to consider the bigger picture, It's not just about building a successful product. It's about building something that makes the world a better place.
It's like a Hippocratic Oath for product people. First, do no harm. But I actually think it goes beyond that. It's about actively looking for ways to contribute to a better future. And it starts with having that clear vision, knowing what kind of change you want to create.
It's about finding that sweet spot where your passion and skills align with a purpose that's bigger than just, profits.
Exactly. And remember, crafting that powerful vision statement, it's a process. It's okay to start small, refine it as you go. Don't be afraid to, really question your assumptions and bring your team along for the ride.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the top takeaways you want our listeners to remember? What should they be thinking about as they go off and, conquer the product world?
First off, remember those product diseases: pivotitis, strategic swelling, that narcissus complex, and of course, obsessive sales disorder. They can sneak up on any product, but that radical product thinking framework, that's your secret weapon.
Right. It all comes back to having a clear vision. That's what keeps us focused and aligned. So we're not just chasing after every shiny object.
Yeah. And when it comes to actually writing that vision statement, don't settle for something vague or generic, Go deep. Really understand the problem, the people you're serving, the kind of world you're trying to build.
And that radical vision statement framework, that whole who, what, why, when, how approach, that's such a game changer.
It is. It helps you create a shared understanding that your entire team can get behind and work towards.
And for me, the most inspiring takeaway is that we can all be visionaries. It's not just about your job title.
Exactly. Look at Margaret Hamilton, right? Her vision quite literally helped put people on the moon. And, you don't have to aim for the moon to make a real difference.
It's about using your skills, your passion, and your vision to build products that make a positive impact, no matter how big or small.
I love that. So to everyone listening, you've got this. Go out there and create something amazing.
This deep dive has been incredible. Thanks for joining us on this journey. And hey, next time you're facing a tough product challenge, just ask yourself, what would Lijat do? Their story is proof that we can achieve incredible things when we lead with purpose and vision. Until next time.